Actor's Choice, where the actors have a chance to talk about themselves and their careers. Join us now for the next hour as we explore the marvelous industry of acting through actors and actresses from today's exciting show business world. And now, here's your host, Ron Brewington.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ron Brewington, and welcome to The Actor's Choice. What you just heard and saw was a broadcast of a massive explosion that happened at 10:18 p.m. on July 17, 1944, at the Port Chicago Naval Weapons Naval Magazine near the San Francisco East Bay area. The explosion instantly killed 320 men, mostly African-American U.S. Navy sailors. They were loading two ships with ammunition slated for troops in the Pacific Theater when the explosion occurred. UC seismologists record the shock as 3.4 on the Richter scale. Some even thought it was a nuclear device that had detonated. It was World War II's worst home front disaster. The world was at war in 1944, both on the battlefield and at home. Some hopeful African Americans joined the U.S. Navy. Unfortunately, they were treated as second-class citizens, forced to act as servants to cook, clean, iron, and sew for white officers. These men were given lots of menial tasks to perform. Here today to talk about the explosion and the consequences that followed are Dennis Rowe, co-writer and director, and David Shackelford, co-writer and actor. Gentlemen, thank you very much for showing up today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for allowing us to be here.
Indeed, indeed. What can you say about this very unbelievable event?
Well, first of all, just watching the explosion, the video that you just showed was amazing. You know, it was amazing. And it really kind of, when you actually see the video, it hits home just to the magnitude of what happened. You can hear the story, but when you actually see it, it just kind of blows you away. And that's kind of what we try to capture on the stage. The unbelievable aspect that this story actually happened on U.S. soil, none less. And what the sailors had to go through during that particular time, being treated, the inhumane treatment that they had to go through. And, you know, I'm a little affected by that video. I must tell you, it really just kind of, you know, I was, it kind of got to me. Yeah. You know, and sometimes you can get immune to things. Yes. Because it happened so much. But seeing that just kind of brought it all back. And, you know, being a part of the show, and we're in rehearsals all the time, you can kind of, again, get immune to the impact that something like that has on you. But, man, watching that, wow.
Well, that was the intent of playing. When I saw it, the first thing I said to myself, this has a powerful effect on what you're thinking.
Yes.
And imagine when you go to the play, you're going to see scenes in there that might be a little shocking. Again, as you say, you use strong language in this particular play.
Well, we have to be authentic.
Yes.
That's you know, that was actually a challenge. I'm not one to use language like that, but you have to be authentic. If you really want to tell the real story, you have to be authentic. And that's really what we tried to capture. We had to put aside our personal feelings. You'll talk to one of the actors, one of the Howard, who plays the captain, and a little bit later, and we kind of had to grapple with some of the language there. You know, most of us are not used to being called certain words and being put down, and you know, we don't really have that in our day-to-day life. I know I don't. And so it was a challenge.
Yes.
But I think the reward is telling the story of the sailors. We wanted to honor the fallen sailors and the sailors that gave their lives for a better tomorrow today. And in that, we have to be authentic. We have to tell the real story.
Now, I understand there was another play about this at one time before. Were you involved with that?
Oh, I didn't know about that. That's news to me. I thought we were the first. Honestly, I didn't know about it.
Yeah, there was another play years ago.
Okay, well, what David and I tried to do, we didn't want to read any books. We didn't want to see the movie, because there was a movie done at one time, I think years and years ago. We didn't want to see the movie, and we didn't want to be influenced by what someone else said.
Right.
We wanted to be authentic to the actual story and come with a fresh viewpoint. And
Right,
that's
it was
what
all
we
from
did.
our own perspective.
Right.
Own perspective, own feelings of how we felt about the story.
Okay. Did you guys at any time go to the United States Navy or the Department of Defense for any assistance in this play?
Wanted to,
What stopped
but
you?
we didn't.
Okay.
We didn't.
Okay.
Didn't know where to start, to be honest.
Federal building. Anytime you ever go, a federal building downtown LA will get you anything that will involve with the federal government. Anytime you can do that. I
we
know
didn't do
that.
that. What we did do was
Yes.
pull up a lot of articles.
Good. Go up on Google.
Yes,
No
we did,
places. Yeah.
you know, and some of the actors, we really tried to encourage the actors to go and kind of do their own research.
Yes.
So that they can really kind of get a feel for the event themselves as well as their characters. And Howard, going back to Howard again, Howard actually brought in a lot of clippings of some of the events that we hadn't, some of the clippings that we hadn't actually seen. So we did a lot of research. David actually was in communication with Betty.
And who's Betty?
Betty is she's one of the characters in the story who housed the sailors, not housed them, but actually created what they call a kickback, which is allowed the sailors to relax and rest after they're working. So, because the black sailors could not go into the actual town to have a good time. So she housed them as far as, having a good time playing music and cars and things like that.
She and her husband.
I got you. I should say for the record that, as you guys know, I served for 22 years in the United States Navy.
Yes, I
And I went in 1964 at the tail end of what was known as a lot of that same era where blacks were mistreated. It was just one of those things. In fact, when I went into service, I was very blessed because most blacks, Filipinos who were in there with us at the same time, can only be what we call a steward's mate. Those are the ones who washed the officers' clothes and took them and fed them and all that good stuff like that. If you remember Dory Miller in World War II, he was a steward's mate. One of the most prominent ones. He won the Navy Cross, which we're still trying to this day to get him a Medal of Honor, but that's a long story.
So how did you get through that? What was your mental state?
My mental state was, first of all, there was a lot of it I was very naive about. I didn't know it. I was raised in New York, in Harlem, but I was not naive. You see, in the military, you have a thing called the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and someone can get in your case real quick. And if you disobey an order, in wartime, they can shoot you. So again, for me, it was a learning process, and I learned very quickly. I had a good chief, some good officers around me, some good petty officers around me, and I learned very quickly. And it was after I've served my 22 years, and my twin brother, he also was in the Navy. And we both, after we got out of the Navy, we looked back in and said, that wasn't a bad deal. We got our education, we traveled all over the world. What else could you ask for? But there are some bad things that you had to do. And one of the things is that people don't understand the danger in what these men had to do, loading and unloading ships.
Without being trained.
Without being trained. Here in the Los Angeles area, if you go down south, down at Seal Beach, there's a naval weapons station down there right now.
Right.
And, of course, at the time they opened up that naval weapons station, the population wasn't around them as close as they encroached. The population encroached on the naval weapons station.
Right.
So when asked the question, we're in the business of defense, where are you going to put this ammunition at? You got to put it someplace.
You got to put it someplace. But as you saw, which is evidenced by the blast that happened,
Right.
That's a real question. That's a real concern.
Yes.
Something blows up, will you see
Right.
what the effect was of that?
Right.
So I don't know what the answer is to that. It's just the population is growing, and as it grows, housing is growing, and there's really no place where you seem to can keep it away from the general population.
Okay.
Or so it seems, but I don't know.
What makes the Port Chicago story so important to American history?
Well, I think that what I read is that was the catalyst for desegregation in the Navy. And so that in itself was really important. And then if you look at today, the things that are happening today, you see that it's the things that happened then was still kind of happening today.
Oh, yes.
And we need to take those lessons of what happened yesterday so that we don't repeat those same things. We really do need to know our history,
yes,
so that we can get better, right, and be a better people, a better country.
Because the military is still having problems right now, sexual abuse and other problems, yes, right now, even after all we've been through.
So the question is, are they learning their lesson? Are they actually listening and looking at what happened before and trying to do something about it, making the steps to be better?
I mean, they do come from the civilian sector. For a lot of people, there's only two things you had to do in the Navy. Number one, do as you were told, and number two, pick up your paycheck. That's all you had to do. And for some people, that's a little difficult to do sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, it is difficult. Back to what we're talking about as far as your project is concerned, there was a question about white officers who commanded these black sailors. They were not trained properly.
Right.
And they would place bets to see who could unload or load a ship fastest. Tell us about that, please.
Yeah, that kind of ran rapid. They were already under pressure to try to finish stuff on time. That was a given.
Right.
Time was of the essence. But to have that multiplied by, taking bets on people, so that contributed to the fact that anything could happen. It contributed to all of that. So nobody was careful, because the main thing was getting it done faster.
Right.
Getting it faster and faster. So, there was no safety issue.
Right.
And whatever safety issue there was, that just kind of went out the window, because the whole thing was, how can we beat the other team? How can we get it done quicker?
Safety is number one these days.
Well,
it always has been.
Well, it apparently wasn't at that particular time if they were taking bets to get the guys to do it quicker and quicker and quicker. Right. And we actually show that in the show.
Good.
The mistreatment and the time factor and, being under the stress of just getting the job done faster. Load, quicker, quicker, quicker. And no training. There's a line in the play where Captain Harvey says, training, as I hear that word one more time. And you can ask Howard to kind of recite that line. Okay. He does it much better than I do. I'm going to blow a gasket.
What was it like getting this cast together?
It was difficult. It was difficult. The thing about casting theater in Los Angeles, L.A. is a film and television town. Mm-hmm. And everybody wants to do film and television. Theater doesn't pay that much. And in most cases, you're really not making a living on theater. It's really for the craft. It's really for the love of the craft. And it's really kind of for the exposure, trying to get yourself out there. Mm-hmm. And so here in L.A., it was very difficult because, the actor's mind may not necessarily be on theater. Okay. So you first of all have to find people that are mentally in tune with theater and genuinely love the art of theater. So that's the first challenge. Mm-hmm. And then, believe it or not, you find a lot of actors that are not trained for theater. And it's a different animal in a sense than film and television, because everything is live. Mm-hmm. And that can be, frightening to some actors. Yeah. Because you can't go back and do a take. Okay? Right. Take the first time you do it is how the audience relates or sees it. And so that was a challenge. Mm-hmm. But we were really blessed that we really have a great cast. We really, really, really have a great cast. I've done many shows.
Yes.
And you can get one bad apple in a cast and it can kill your show. I've seen it done.
Yes.
And so we haven't had that issue. We've really been blessed that we have a great cast. I think they love the show. They love the idea of doing a historical piece. Mm-hmm. And they really kind of have gotten into the nitty-gritty of the characters and come with their own thing. Good. As a director, you can come with your own vision and da-da-da-da-da, but you want the actor to be able to come with it as well. And it's a collaborative effort. And so we've been really blessed.
What do you guys expect for the audience to walk away from this play after they see it?
I'll have David answer that. What do you think? What do you want, David?
I want the audience to walk away with, since it's a story of injustice, to walk away with, to know that the same thing is happening today.
Yep.
And that we need to do something about it. We need to change the way we look at things. We need to change the way we behave with one another. To walk away with a sense of urgency, that things need to change.
Mm-hmm.
This is an American story, not just a black story, not just a military story, but an American story that needs to be told. And if anybody can be touched, if one person can be touched to think differently, act differently toward different races, different creeds, different genders, then we've done our job.
Okay.
And for me, I just, I was really upset that I had never heard about the story.
Wow.
Because I kind of felt like, here I am, an African American, although we have many stories.
Right.
Many, many stories. And so it's hard to tell them all. But this was a pretty prominent and unbelievable story. And the fact that I didn't know anything about it really just kind of upset me.
Okay.
And that's when I said, we got to take action. We should be aware of some of our stories.
Yes.
Even if we don't know all the
Right.
details, we should still be aware of them.
Should be aware of it.
And so David and I, decided we were going to do the story so
Yes.
that we can at least get this story out.
Right. Indeed. They say timing is everything. As you know, the movie The Birth of a Nation is coming out this week.
Yes.
So you guys are right in line. There's a lot of stories coming out right now about the culture.
Right.
Like you say, history is everything.
Right.
And it's sad when I see people who of color, who I know and you know them too, don't know their history. And what makes it bad, some of them don't even want to know their history.
Well, that's
if you
why I
don't
was
get mad-
upset about it.
And if you
I
don't
didn't
know your
it.
history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Exactly.
Right.
Because if you don't know where you came from,
Right.
how you know where you're going.
Exactly.
Indeed. Indeed. So what happened to those 50 men?
Well, the 50 men, they after the explosion, the survivors were expected to go not only clean up the body parts. First of all, let's think about that. Clean up the body parts that are just everywhere. Clean up the body parts and to go back to work doing the same thing that caused the explosion under the same conditions, untrained. So that was the first thing that they had to kind of grapple with. And so 50 of them, actually it was more than 50 that decided that they were not going to do it. But they were threatened. Like you first mentioned that you can be killed. Right. So they were threatened. And out of the number of people that were threatened, 50 of them still stood their ground and said, no, we're not going back to work under these same conditions until we're trained. Mm-hmm. And they were court-martialed for mutiny.
Right.
Now, for them, it was a work stoppage, not mutiny. Right. But the Navy looked at it as mutiny, and they were court-martialed and put in prison. I believe the time was 18 months or something like that.
Yeah.
So they were put in prison for 18 months, and they had to serve whatever time. And then Thurgood Marshall, with the help of Eleanor Roosevelt, kind of putting her little push behind him, were able to get them off. But they still had it on their record.
Yeah.
And that's basically what happened to them.
Because as you know, during wartime, mutiny, the punishment is death.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hanging or shooting. Doesn't
Right.
matter.
Exactly.
So they only got was 2 years.
Yes.
Wow. I understand that 49, that the only one was ever given any clemency?
Freddie Meeks. Freddie Meeks, who happens to be a L.A., he was a South L.A. resident.
Mm-hmm. Is he still alive?
No, he passed away at the age of 83. Don't remember the year, but he was 83. And he was pardoned by President Clinton, and but the other 49 still have that on their record. So there's a bill in Congress right now to exonerate the 50 men.
Good.
And they're trying to get President Obama to pardon the 49 men. And so
you better hurry up. You ain't got much time.
He doesn't have much time. So the pressure is on for that to happen.
Yes.
And I actually got a chance to speak to Freddie Meeks' son, Daryl Meeks, who is still alive.
Okay.
And actually, he and his family came to see the show maybe 4 or 5 times. And they loved the show.
Wow.
And really thought it captured the essence of their father.
Excellent.
So, yeah, we were very pleased to get kind of their stamp of approval, because you never know when you're kind of doing something about a historical person or somebody's, relative.
He was really happy that the story came out about, the men, and especially his father. He was really talking with him after the play. He was really, inspired.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Because when you look back during World War II, you had the Tuskegee Airmen, the Montford Point Marines, the Golden 13. These were all African Americans at different branches of the service and what they had to go through. And Mrs. Roosevelt helped the Tuskegee Airmen get their project through. And so a lot of good people came through at that time to help a lot of people out.
Yes.
Okay. David, what's your role in this particular film, please?
I am Freddie Meeks, the younger Freddie Meeks.
The younger Freddie Meeks, okay.
Yes. I'm more of a kind of like the older brother to the men.
Okay.
Try to keep the peace, but at the same time, you keep the energy going with all the men. They come to talk to me if they have problems, things like that. But just kind of like the older brother.
Yeah.
Of the men.
That's good, because your attitude is everything.
Yes.
Most definitely.
Yeah, and he was the man.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, God bless you guys for what you're doing. Before you guys go, tell me, where and when is this play going to happen?
It's October 13th, 14th, and 15th, which is 2 weeks away. Okay. It's in Santa Monica at the Morgan Wixson, Wixson Theater on Pico Boulevard. And it's a wonderful play. The show, again, 13th, which is Friday at 8 o'clock, Saturday, the 15th at 3 and 8, and then the 16th at 4 p.m.
Okay. And
tickets are available online at PortChicago50play.com, PortChicago50play.com, or 866-514-7250.
Got to ask you, what's the real truth about the explosions?
No one really knows.
Yes.
No one really knows. Mm-hmm. But what we try to do is present what we think happened.
Gotcha.
Or what the newspapers say happened. Mm-hmm. So the general consensus.
Do you see this? Do you ever see this play up on the big screen?
Oh yeah.
Got a good cast?
I'm not going to say anything anymore about that. Because we don't want anybody else to get some ideas.
Plagiarism.
That's right.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Now, I understand there's a man on the telephone right now that is one of the cast members.
Yes, Mr. Hal Williams, who's playing the older Freddie.
Okay. Hal, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you very well.
It's good to hear you and see you. I saw you the other night over there with Charles Floyd Johnson and Congressman Lewis. Good event to be at.
Yes, it was. Very inspiring piece of work, that documentary. And I had been to the museum on the mall the week before, but I wasn't able to corner John Lewis up and tell him that I was about to see his film, but it was great.
Can you describe your role in this play, please, sir?
Well, basically, I give narration as the play evolves from scene to scene. At various points, I interject my thoughts as to what was going on at the time and what was causing certain attitudes to prevail and that kind of thing. I've just gotten the script and just going over it and trying to pick up on a lot of things. And I will have an opportunity to collaborate with Dennis and David about how they see the character evolve, and then that's what will appear on stage.
What's your feeling about the play subject?
The subject is familiar to me because I saw a profile on it several years ago on CBS when Freddie Meeks when they told his story about how he was the only one that was exonerated. And so when word got to me last week about somebody doing it, I'd never known anybody ever touched it until I heard about Dennis and David and their project. I know that those kinds of things happen. I grew up during World War II. My uncles, my father served, and I was very familiar with the way we were treated when the Army was segregated and when they desegregated the Army, and segregation and prejudice continued to prevail in the service even though things supposedly had changed. So this piece of work is right on time. Matter of fact, I feel it's very timely for what's going on in the country right now.
Wholeheartedly with you. It is very timely.
So it's something that a lot of people should be made aware of. John Amos is a good friend of mine from Good Times. And I remember one time when I was doing Good Times, and when you do these television shows, a lot of times white people want to tell us how to be black. And I remember John is a very forceful character if you know him. And at one time he told a producer point blank, how are you going to know where I'm at if you ain't been where I've been? You dig where I'm coming from? And they sat there and looked in shock. But this is what I feel needs to be done these days. It's projects just like this one that make people aware and about what's going on, and that has been going on for a long, long time. And the young people need to go about it and know about it, because someone said on your show this morning that they don't even want to know. You try to tell them, and I hate that phrase, back in the day, but they will say that to you, oh, Pops, that was back in the day, so-and-so and so-and-so. I said, that is right now. That is right now. You just look around. You're enjoying the fruits of some of the things people went through so that you could enjoy them, but you need to know how that happened and where that came from.
Oh, you're so right, sir. You are so right. Hal, you've had a lot of roles during your career, and you're still at it, my friend, and thank you so much for that. God is with you. Please talk about the love for acting that you started years ago, and you still got it today.
I've been acting since I was 6 years old, and I'm born in Columbus, Ohio. I never once thought that I'd ever be able to do it professionally, because as I was growing up, most of the time, the only person that was doing anything substantial after I got out of high school and everything was Sidney Poitier, broke the ice. But for a guy living in Columbus, Ohio, doing community theater, that was the farthest thing from my mind until I Spy came along. And I did plays forever. But when I Spy came along, I saw Muhammad Ali do an episode, and I saw Jim Brown do one. And I had just gotten divorced. I was a single-family parent with 3 small children. I was very unhappy. I was a social worker and working with the government on the war on poverty. And I said, what is the one thing I don't want to wake up one morning and say, I wish I had given that a shot? I felt the time was right. So my parents thought I was crazy. I jumped in my car. In 48 hours, I was in California, and I had 2 jobs waiting on me. I went to work, had my kids brought out. I joined workshops out there, got involved doing commercials and everything, and doing theater. Theater got me an agent, and theater led to me having a successful career. And every chance I get, I go back to the theater. I do theater all the time, because theater allows me, don't get me wrong, I've had a successful career, I've done very well, and I've been blessed to live very well. But the kind of roles I've done were not necessarily my choice, but were the roles that were available at the time. And when there's a job available, you go for the job, and you see if you get it. But anytime I want to do drama, I do it on stage. Because most of the time, except for Roots 2 and the Waltons, which a lot of people don't even know I did for 5 years, I don't get that many dramatic roles. I'm the straight guy in a lot of comedies. So, and I think that anybody worth his salt as an actor needs to come through the theater to go anywhere else. And that's the problem I have today. I don't begrudge anybody working, but a lot of these folks that are getting wonderful opportunities have no organic substance to their work. They've become famous doing something else, and that's fine. They're singers, they're athletes, they're rappers, and all that. But they get wonderful opportunities to do wonderful things, and it's like they're doing on-the-job training, learn by doing. And if you haven't paid your dues and come up through the theater, which is the hardest mode of acting that you can come through, then you got a lot of work to do yet. Even if you are making $1 million a week, you still got a lot of work to do as a performer.
One more question, sir. One of them is doing changes in the acting world business since you've seen over the years. What has that been?
A kind of a lack of respect for the acting profession, that people will just be randomly be successful in something and randomly one morning and say, well, yeah, I'm retiring, and I think I'll just do a little bit of acting. Oh, that's what you do. You wake up one morning and say, I think I'll do a little bit of acting. And the problem is they usually do. Next thing you know, they've got a star role in a movie. because they had influence from somewhere. That's one of the biggest changes. And the kinds of things that like what Nate Parker is doing, more people should be trying to do that kind of stuff. But then people say, oh, we don't want to do the antebellum. Well, there's successful stratas of the black experience all over this country. And everything doesn't have to be about slavery or gangsterism or drugs and all of that, because we have successful people in everything. Matter of fact, we set the trends that other people steal and take credit for.
Last question, sir. Hal Williams, how do you want to be remembered?
As a man who had a lot of pride and was not ashamed of any role he had ever played, and that I'm a sensitive human being and a very sensitive black man.
Thank you, my friend. It's good to always hear from you. Good to see you. And we're going to get you down here in L.A. and get you on the studio and have you come in and talk a little bit about your life. And thank you so very much for being a part of this event today. Thank you, sir.
Thank all of you for having me this morning.
Indeed.
Have a good day.
Indeed.
Bye-bye.
Okay. That when you see old-time guys like him, 227,
Bringing it straight.
when you go through his IMDb, I mean, he's got roles going this way and roles going that way. Okay. Our next guest is Howard Lockie. Mm-hmm. Howard, please describe your role.
Well, nice to be here. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank the gentleman that brought me here. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't cast by David and Dennis. And and it's been a great ride. And they're beautiful people. Never been treated so well in my life. And my role is he's the bad guy.
Uh-oh.
You know, he's the bad guy. He's Lee Marvin on steroids.
Ooh.
You know, he's a super bad guy, and I can't judge it as an actor. I have to give myself to it.
Okay.
As a human, I can have one set of feelings about it, but as an actor, I can't judge it. It was written in such a way with a verbiage that I never used in my life. And at first reading, I had to put the script down and let the people know that I had never used this word. And they had, seen something in me in the audition process that, I come from a strong line of men in Southern California, and they saw, I'm a man's man, and the Navy has men's men. So that's a quality I have, and I put it into the role, and again, I just do not judge what I'm doing. I give myself to it, hoping that it serves the entirety of the play. And it, as a spiritual man, one who believes in spirit, and that's how I ended up in the show in the first place, according, for my beliefs, I'm there serving a purpose, and I'm going to serve it to the best of my ability, and I'm going to go for it. So if I'm super nasty, you can still talk to me afterwards. It's all good. But I'm serving the role, and I'm not. I step out of judging it, okay. As the human consciousness was where it was at that time and space, and I'm not going to be the person to say yes or no about it. I'm not God. So I love the show. I love the kids. We have a great time. They've treated me like family. We have again. I've never been treated so well, and I've worked on some nice stages and some nice sets, and it's a beautiful, harmonious experience. And they let me be myself. They let me fly my flag.
Loud flag. Yes. Lee Marvin.
That's Lee Marvin, exactly. And to scare them. And, and if I got to scare them, then I scare them. And, at the end of the day, we're all hugging and it's all good. And again, I believe it fuels the healing process that's in place all across the the world.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And that's what the beautiful thing about actors, and that's what I love about actors. Yeah. They are a person who can be another person.
Absolutely.
That's
they
what
can
it's all about.
Give themselves to to language, to be just in one sense, in God's world, I really believe that it expands everybody out. I mean, to be a great, to be able to go and stand toe to toe with people, I need to embrace all aspects of myself. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean I need to lean on them and live by them. But if I go into a negotiating meeting and asking for a salary increase and I cower like a little flower, I'm not going to get what I want, and I'm not going to get what I deserve. And so, that's a power that we all have.
Did you ever serve in the military?
No, sir. I served with my father. Who was a Korean War vet. I had an Army knife. I had my my shotgun license when I was 12 years old. I was shooting dove, duck, and quail in Baja, California. I spent my whole youth outside Montana, Baja, and my dad ran it like a small army.
Okay. Can you
We have our problems.
We have
We've
your
come
problem.
a long way.
Gotcha. Can you tell me a little bit more about the role? Now, what rank are you in this particular
I'm
play?
Captain Harvey, who's the base commander, who is over several lieutenants, and his responsibility is to strictly get the ammunition out the door as soon as possible. Whether he's even aware of the bedding, I'm not even positive about that, but I know that his sole ambition is to get ammunition out the door ASAP, and he has his own agenda, where he wants to go with it as well.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because that was my next question. Was he aware of what these younger junior officers were doing?
Probably, and yet he's trying to get to Washington D.C. like they all are.
Yes, become an admiral.
Yeah, he's trying to get to Washington D.C.
Yeah.
So as long as the stuff is moving and the schedules are met, he's probably, again, as they did and they still do all over the world these days, turning the cheek, looking the other way.
Was he killed at the explosion?
He was not killed in the explosion. And you want to know a fascinating thing?
Please.
That I did some research? This man was actually on the plane that went to, that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima.
Interesting.
He was actually one of the men on the plane. I think it's fascinating. I think the story has there's a lot of, I don't want to go too deep on the story, but there's a lot of things to uncover within this Port Chicago story.
Gotcha. How's your career doing these days?
I'm on fire. I'm here with you. We're hanging, right?
Hey, we're hanging.
Beautiful people.
Oh, yeah.
I'm good. I have a couple things on Discovery Channel. One aired on Saturday night. I'll have another one airing in another couple weeks.
Okay.
I'm studying with Harold Guskin, how to stop acting, and it's just basically talk and connect. I don't want to act anymore. Personally, myself, I want to live from the inside out, and I want to listen and talk and be a real person, and that frees my spirit to just do whatever I want to do. You'll see, in the show, if you do come.
I'm coming. I'm going to take it already.
I'm a little eccentric at times.
Yes.
I can be a little eccentric at times, but I'm an eccentric human, and acting gives me the opportunity to let that out.
I was going to ask you, what made you get into acting? Yes.
They told me I was too much everywhere else I went. They said, so you better go down there. You better go down the street where the stage is. My dad's a big Shakespeare fan, so we were watching Shakespeare when I was a little kid, and my dad would do it. If he had the freedom to do it, and he's bound by his own things, but he would do it if he had the choice. If he had the freedom to do it.
Gotcha. What kind of roles do you normally look for?
Honestly, I do like a detective. I love comedy. I've done several movies of the week. Says cops. Basically, I'm going to go be a lead someday, a big lead actor that does the opposite that everyone thinks he's going to do. I look one way and yet I'm very different. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to be Clint Eastwood, who just does the opposite thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. You're prepared.
Clint Eastwood. I'm ready.
You're ready.
Absolutely. As Mr. Williams said, I don't stop studying. I read every day. I do 2 hours, taking it off the page. The theater's the only place to be, and it's time to kick ass. Excuse me.
And that's okay, because again, in this world, we talk about kicking ass as an actor. You've got to be dedicated to be a good actor.
Yeah, and you got to leave your mark. It's like I'm going to go down swinging no matter what happens. I don't even care.
Do you have a place in your house already set aside for the first Oscar you're going to win?
I don't meditate on that stuff. I just meditate on being free. Gotcha. Whatever God's will is.
Got you. What are your thoughts about seeing historical events like this one, either on stage or in the movies at all?
I love it. I learned more. I did, again, as Dennis said so eloquently earlier, I didn't know the story. It's tragic that this story isn't better known. I love it. It informs me. I learn something new. I'm a learner. I like to bring new information in, and especially a story like this that happened 5 hours north of here, up in the corner of the East Bay. To not know it, and so I've with this experience, done my own research, learned, talked to people. My uncle actually had 5 articles that he had been saving, and I gave those articles to Dennis. And I learn. I like to learn, and I want to know what's going on. And this story in particular, needs
As you know, the United States government has made a memorial there at that location.
I do understand that. Yes. Yeah. I hope to go visit, and we hope to go do the show there someday.
Great.
Absolutely.
Auditions. How do you feel about doing auditions?
Lately, I really like them, because it's a chance to roll the dice. You can't be a wimp and be an actor. You got to be fearless, and you got to go for it, and you have to be really willing to just put yourself out there. And so more and more, I like the audition process because I don't really care what you think about me anymore. And I used to live a lot of my life caring what you thought about me. So now I'm like, I'm not going to be disrespectful to you, but I'm not going to be all nicey-nicey like I used to be, and nicey-nicey and nicey-nicey. It doesn't get you nowhere.
What are your plans in the future?
I'll just have a good time. My birthday's on the 14th, so I'll be having a...
Scorpio.
Libra, actually.
Okay.
14th of October.
Oh, October, okay.
Yeah, so I'll be on stage doing what I want to do. So
Okay.
life is good.
You guys going to give him a birthday cake?
No, it ain't me too.
First we
They've
heard
been
of
nicer.
birthday.
They've been so nice. They don't have to do anything. They have me around.
With one candle on top.
Hey, it's all good. No candles, just the infinity sign.
Yeah. Well, Howard, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much.
Absolutely.
Next, we'd like to speak to a young lady. Her name, Oren Williams. Excuse me, lady. I'm sorry to nick it. Would you please discuss your role, Oren? We saved enough for last.
Okay. Well, my role is Spencer. I play one of the naval officers, and basically he's got a chip on his shoulder. So he's got a different hairstyle than everybody else. If you come to the play, you'll see my hair is like slicked down with the part, classic man style. And basically he catches flack for that because he's different, and he's believed by one of the other sailors to think he's better than everybody else. And then he gets promoted as a petty officer, so then it just makes it worse. And basically the tension builds up over the entire play, and a scuffle happens, and punches are thrown, and I'm gonna save it for the play for when you come see it. But basically he gets, I don't want to say dragged into standing with the 50 men, but it's almost like he has to do it. It's just a matter of are you going to take a stand, or are you going to just lie down and accept what's going on?
Okay. How much research did you do for the role?
I did quite a bit of research. I looked up some videos on YouTube like the ones you showed before we started here, and it's really moving. And it's really moving to know that when I went through school and learned about World War II, this was nothing about this. And for it to be the greatest disaster on our home turf during World War II and to not have anything about it in our history books is ridiculous. So I'm really glad to be a part of something that is moving forward and educating people as to what really happened.
How about being selected for the role? How'd you feel after that?
Oh, I was elated. It was great. We have a great cast, and it's always good to be able to do something with some meat on it.
Yes.
And something that tells a great story that no one knows about.
I was reading your resume and I found it very interesting. It says that you were recently voted Hollywood's Hottie by Pop Star magazine. Is that true?
That was true. That was back in my younger days. If I want to say that was back when I had done a movie called Rebound with Martin Lawrence. And
Martin Lawrence.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
Oh yeah, great time working with him. And the polls came out, and I guess I won the election.
So what made you get into acting in the first place?
Well, my father was an actor, is an actor, and
his name?
His name's Howard Williams.
Okay.
And I was younger and saw him highlighting scripts and reading scripts, and kind of just came up and started reading with him. And I think at the time it was a script that had some language in it, so he was trying to find a scene that he was reading that didn't have any language. He used to be on a show called In the Heat of the Night. So I got started reading at a young age. So I kind of started reading his scripts, and then just kind of one thing led to another, and ended up getting into it. And I actually had an agent before I was born. I think his agent was at the hospital, and basically as soon as I took my first breath, he was like, "All right, we're gonna sign him when he's ready." So,
fun fact. I'm just gonna interject something real quick. Oren, his dad, and his mom and I did a show together. We did a play together. And Oren was 2 years old on the stage on the stage at 2 years old. So it's full circle that he's now his age and now doing a play.
Wow.
Just wanted to interject.
Thank you. Because I was going to say, a lot of times you hear some people. You forgot about it?
Now I remember the stories about me running around on the stage.
Yes. It's coming back to you now. Yes, I understand.
But it's always been a passion of mine, and it's always been something I love to do. And a good thing about my parents is when I was growing up, they always stressed, if you don't want to do this, let us know.
Right.
We're not going to force you to do this.
That's good.
And it was always something I loved to do. It was always, being on set, it just always felt like home.
Yeah.
From being in the trailer to the craft service to,
Craft service, did you say? Craft service. Yes, I like those guys.
It's just something I've always loved to do.
Gotcha.
And
Do you take advice?
Passion for it.
Do you take advice from your father about acting?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. To this day, he still remains my coach, one of my main coaches. And it's always good to get knowledge from someone who's been there before, who's done it all. So it wouldn't make any sense to not get any advice from someone who's walked that road before.
Gotcha.
So every step of the way.
A lot of people, I'm sure, envy you because, again, a lot of times they'll get into acting and their families will say, get out of it, be a doctor, be a lawyer, don't be an actor. You're not even my child no more, all that kind of stuff. But your father's an actor and really helps you out a lot. That's great.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. God's really blessed me with great parents.
Amen. What kind of roles do you like to take?
I like roles with substance, roles that tell a story. And on the flip side, I also like roles that are that go against my normal being. So it's always good to play a villain, or it's always good to play someone who's causing harm or just something, because it's like the exact opposite of me. I like roles that are opposite of who I am. And in this role is kind of that way because I don't really walk around with a chip on my shoulder too much, and this guy is just fiery and not angry, but it's like if you poke him, he's going to respond. So that's kind of it's a really good role to play, and it's a really good project because as they've said before, it's the timing of it is right on time. What we're seeing today and what happened then, it's like they're telling the black soldiers to load with no training, load big heavy bombs with no training, knowing that they could drop it, and they didn't care. And they still didn't care when they dropped it because it was mostly black soldiers. Yeah. So, it fits right in the timing of what's going on right now.
Well, here I am sitting in the studio, in the theater, watching you up on the stage in this play. What kind of reaction you think I'm going to get from it?
We want emotional reaction. Our goal in our rehearsals is to make it so that the audience really wishes they were there. Really, not wishes, but really feels like they're there with us. That's our goal when we're on stage, is to draw the audience in and really make it seem like, wow, like this is really what happened. I'm right there with them.
Gotcha.
And our first couple shows we had, the first time we ran it, we really had a couple emotional reactions to everyone. All the feedback was positive. We had some tears from, was it Freddie Meek's grandson? He said he came and watched the show, and he was like, well, I never really got to hear the story from my grandfather, and you guys really told this story for me, and I really feel like I was there. So that was one of the high points from one of our previous shows.
Gotcha. Patriotism in this country right now, how do you think it's doing so far?
I feel like patriotism is a personal level. It's on a personal level. You got to respect those who have risked their life for your freedom, and that's between you and how you feel the country is being run. As in terms of the anthem and what we're seeing now with people kneeling and everything, we're not showing it in the right way by kneeling toward the anthem, because it's like you're disrespecting those who have paved the way for you. And so it's kind of like it fits right into what kind of generation. We're in a microwave generation. Mm-hmm. So it's like, instead of sitting down and thinking about a real way we can solve things,
Mm-hmm.
The quickest and easy thing to do is get on one knee. And, I agree with the protest thing about it, the protest
Mm-hmm.
aspect of raising awareness for what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't agree with it when it disrespects those who have paved the way for us and disrespects those who have put their life on the line.
Yes.
So
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. For those of us that served and wore that uniform. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Anika McFall, how are you today, lady?
I am fantastic.
Indeed. Please, please describe your role.
My role.
Thank you.
The best way, I play Betty in the role, and the best way I could describe Betty is an anchor, the anchor of the play. She has her own relationships with the sailors. Each one is just very specific to that person, and she builds these relationships through providing safety and security in a place for these guys to basically clear their minds and steady their minds to make so they'll have a good time, to
Yes.
try to divert such as the negative experiences they have working on a day-to-day and give them somewhere to relax and have a good time and be human and be themselves.
That reminds me of what we call the USO. A
Yes.
place where you could go to
Yes.
and just get, even though you're on duty, you're off duty now.
Yeah,
Relax.
so she created
Yeah.
the kickback. Yeah, so that's kind of Betty, but Betty also has her own values and her own beliefs as well, without being overly aggressive in her opinions. But she wants these guys to be strong and stand in who they are, and she understands what's going on with them. So that's one of the reasons why she does this. Is because she has her feelings about race relations and the sailors, and this is her contribution.
How did you hear about this role? Or this play?
Actually, maybe the breakdowns,
Okay.
like the breakdowns, and I was called in for an audition. and
Okay.
I booked.
All right. Just casting, and of course, you guys are all professionals. You're always looking for work.
Well, I've been blessed.
Okay.
And I can't complain about that because I make a living as an actress and a producer. So it has its ups and downs to the business, but I chose this, and I'm having a ball.
Gotcha.
Doing it, and the hard is what makes it great for me because I'm very competitive with myself.
Yes.
And constantly getting better. And what attracted me to this role was, one, I'm attracted to anything period piece. I'm a history buff, and that excites me. And I really love vernacular speech patterns of different time periods, fashion, events, life events that happened, the way people spoke to each other, the candor, that appeals to me. In addition to the story, I later found out the story as I got involved with it, and it was very heavy for me because I'm very political. So I have a lot to say when it comes to that. Another time, believe me, trust me, you want it another time. But I really was drawn to that. Like that there was a story and there was grit, and that's these gentlemen's lives, and it was a true event. Again, back to history.
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you act, what type of, because I look at your resume, you've got almost 50 credits, so you've been just moving along in the business.
No. Just being spontaneous in my role, transforming, and having fun with it. I mean, I knew since I was 5 that I was going to do this. It's just, there was never even a shadow of a doubt.
Okay.
Everyone in my family knew my nickname was Hollywood and Star Child. It was just one of those things that was given. So I did the school, the education, because I think that's paramount for me.
Gotcha.
I received my master's in business, so at the same time still pursuing this business.
Gotcha.
So
Feelings about doing stage work, as you heard what Hal talked about. About 2 weeks ago, we had a guy come in here sitting in the exact same seat you're sitting in. This man has been in this business for years. He's done over 250 plays. He just doesn't want to do television or film.
Oh my.
He loves the stage.
Well, I'm from Gary, Indiana.
Home
which
of
is-
Michael Jackson.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
amongst others. Amongst others. But it's 15 minutes from Chicago. So Chicago is a big town for theater, and Gary as well. So I started, basically crawling in theater. So I love it. And for me, my personal opinion, stronger actors come from, as Hal said, come from the theater. So I wanted that training as well. I enjoy doing theater. It is very difficult to do when you're in Los Angeles, like Dennis said. This is a TV film town. So I come from a place where their productions, I mean, even your children's theater, it's something. It's like these huge events.
Gotcha.
So when I come to LA, having such a respect for it, you're constantly looking for that, roles and productions where you can actually entertain your guests and become that life for that audience.
I see.
So, that's just been my approach. Like, if it's theater, it's time consuming. It's very time, because there's no back to one. That's it. So you have to be rehearsed, you have to be in your character, and you have to have respect for your teammates. So.
Roles for women. Is it difficult getting a role as well?
Oh my gosh, that's another conversation.
We got 2 minutes.
That's why I said we can table that discussion. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I'm a working actress, but I really want something more for us. Stronger roles, bigger parts even. I've seen some movement lately in theater. Now everything is about that woman, that heroine, that final girl. So I'm excited about that you have the opportunity to show that you have chops. Because many of us train. And I mean train like beasts.
Yes.
Like, I'm in the trenches in there. Working at a job, maybe on set, learning lines and learning this craft and to have a skill. So, I feel like, equal jobs, equal pay.
Unfortunately, sometimes that's not happening, but it's a lot of good things happening. I'm watching the progress of what's going on in the acting field.
Yeah.
Any advice, as a final question, any advice you'd give to someone who wants to get into the business?
Not really an advice giver.
Okay.
But there's some things that I feel like that you have to have, and that's a must-have. And that's a tenacity and a passion for it. Because if you're looking to get rich immediately, you can forget about it. This is not the business. It's just going to take the work. And some people may not, people get upset, oh, this person put in more and I did this, I paid my dues, this person. Well, part of it is having it, and you have to know when you do have it and know how to utilize it. And if you're one of the people that have to work harder, that's okay too. So I just say know who you are, know your strengths and weaknesses, and not give up. Because if you can't make any money as an actor in LA, you might as well go home.
I'll pass that on. In fact, one of the things we always do is all the ladies, when they come to see us, we thank you very much for coming. It's this little thing I do just for the ladies. Always,
that's
gotta look out for the ladies.
Thank you.
And while my man is over here, he's going to say something to us about the dates of when this is going to be on.
Again, October 14th, 15th, 16th. At the Morgan Wixon Theater, which is in Santa Monica on Pico Boulevard. Tickets are available at portchicago50play.com, or you can call the phone number at 866-514-7250. Next Friday, Saturday, Sunday, October 14th, 15th, and 16th.
All right. Then you brought a little commercial to show us?
I have a commercial, and the commercial has the same information. You can run it whenever you're ready.
Run it when you can, sir.
30 seconds.
Hey, what are you doing? Got it! I'm cool. The American dream is simple as success or being somebody.
You don't see my ass out there just like you, sweating and hurting just like you.
Hey, that's not how you look at it.
Calm down, Jim. They're not active, nor will they explode.
No!
Is nice. That is good. We wish you guys the very, very best. I'll be sitting down front in the VIP section just to be there for that play. And I'm telling everybody else, come on, get yourself a ticket, be at the VIP section or whatever. This looks like a great, great play. While we're plugging a play, one of our dear friends, Wanda Ray Willis, she does a one-woman show called Walking in Dorothy Dandridge's Shoes, Her Final New Beginning. Now, she's going to do this play October the 14th and the 21st, 7 p.m. at the Hermosa Beach Second Story Theater. The address is 710 Pier Avenue in Hermosa, Los Angeles, 90245. $25 admission for the play. She says a percentage of the proceeds are going to charity. One of my favorite charities right here. $25 admission, www.brownpaperticketsincorporated.com to get your tickets. That's October the 14th and the 21st. Dorothy Dandridge, Walking in Dorothy Dandridge's Shoes, Her Final New Beginning. I want to say thank you to Dennis Rowe, David Shackelford, Anika McFall, Howard Lockie, Oren Williams, and Hal Williams. We also want to thank you, and as we say, we'll see you next time.